Well, if you thought we are getting some breakthrough AI advancement this holidays, you're wrong, because Google just announced their newest model called Gemini. In this video, we are going to talk about Gemini and how does it compare with ChatGPT, what is the best case scenario, and more. Hey guys, welcome to Tech Trish Tutorial. Today, we are going to talk about the newest update of Google Bard called Gemini. It's a step-by-step guide to follow easily, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Let's dive right in. So this is a pretty hefty article that we have here, but after reviewing every tweets, after reviewing every news, the videos, the updates, here's what I think you need to know about it. So this article was released on December 6, 2023, and they're gonna go ahead and release 3 models for the Gemini. For the first model, we have the Gemini Ultra, the largest and most capable model for highly complex tasks. We also have here our Gemini Pro, which is best model for scaling across wide range of tasks. And lastly, we have the Gemini Nano, which is most efficient models for on-device tasks. So for the Gemini Ultra, this is the equivalent of ChatGPT 4, which is the paid version of ChatGPT. We'll get to try Gemini Ultra around next year, maybe January or February. And for the second one, we have the Gemini Pro. This is the model that we can go ahead and use right now for the Google Bard. It is the equivalent of the free version of ChatGPT, which is the ChatGPT version 3.5. And lastly, we have the Gemini Nano, which is the best efficient for mobile uses. We also know that Gemini was built from the ground up to be multimodal, which means it can generalize and seamlessly understand, operate across, and combine different types of information including text, code, audio, image, and video. Just a side note, ChatGPT 3.5 is meant to be text only and just recently been updated to receive text or videos depending on your extension.
Gemini Ultra, our most capable and largest model for highly complex tasks, Gemini Pro, our best performing model for a broad range of tasks, and Gemini Nano, our most efficient model for on-device tasks.
Now in benchmarking tests, Gemini Ultra actually outperformed ChatGPT 4 in most cases. Now keep in mind, Gemini Ultra is the model that we don't have access to yet, but this is the model that we'll likely get next year. Right now we have access to Gemini Pro, which is a closer comparison to ChatGPT 3.5, which you get inside of a free version of ChatGPT. Now when you compare Gemini Ultra and ChatGPT 4, it slightly beats the ChatGPT 4 for the MMLU test. Multiple choice questions in 57 subjects, professional and academic. Now when you compare it with the Gemini Pro, which is the free version once again, and the ChatGPT 3.5, the Gemini Pro outscores the ChatGPT 3 by almost 10 points. For the second one, we have the grade school math JSM 8K. The Gemini Ultra performed 94.4, meanwhile the ChatGPT 4 performed 92.0%. Now again, it slightly outperformed the ChatGPT 4, which is not bad I guess. But if you are a free user for the ChatGPT and you're considering to use Google Bard, I think this is the right time to go ahead and change that, because for the Gemini Pro, which is once again the free version, is around 86.5%, meanwhile the free version of ChatGPT is just under 57.1%, which is a really huge number. Now we have the math here. Math problem across 5 different levels and 7 sub-disciples. The Gemini Ultra scored 53.2, meanwhile the ChatGPT 4 scored 52.9. Now as you can see right here, at almost every aspect, the Gemini Ultra outperforms GPT-4, but we have one aspect here that the ChatGPT 4 wins, which we're gonna go ahead and talk about later. Now for the Big Bench Hard, subset of hard big bench task written as COT. COT means chain of thoughts problems. The Gemini Ultra scored 83.6, meanwhile the ChatGPT scored 83.1, which is I guess the same number. And for the human evaluation, which is the Python coding task, the Gemini Ultra once again outperforms ChatGPT 4. Now as you can see right here, the Gemini Pro, which is the free version of Gemini, is on par with the paid version of ChatGPT, which is the ChatGPT 4. And for the Natural 2 code, Python code generation, new autheld set with no leakage on web. Once again, Gemini Ultra outperforms the ChatGPT with this category. We also have our drop here, which is reading comprehensions and arithmetic, which scored 82.4%. Meanwhile, the competitor ChatGPT 4 only scored 80.9, which is slightly behind Gemini Ultra. Now, as I've said earlier, it almost outperformed at every task, but for the hella swag, for the common sense multiple choice questions, the ChatGPT 4 completely annihilates the Gemini Ultra. And lastly, we have the MWT23, which is for machine translation. And of course, Gemini Ultra slightly outperforms the ChatGPT 4 here. Now, with the tweet right here by Ethan Malik, this sums it up. What changed today? The simple version. There is no reason to use the free version of ChatGPT anymore that uses GPT 3.5 and is outclassed by Bard as of today and Claude, both of which are free. But you should be using GPT-4, which is still dominant and is free in Bing. So once again, we don't have the Gemini Ultra model yet, and the ChatGPT 4 outperforms the free version of Gemini, which is the Gemini Pro. So if you have the free version of ChatGPT, just go ahead and switch over to Gemini. But if you have access to GPT-4, I suggest to just keep using GPT, because as of right now, we don't have the Gemini Ultra model yet, and the GPT-4 outperforms our Gemini model as of today. So right here we have a sheet of paper that has multiple problems and has already some answers to it. And Gemini Ultra can actually go ahead and review this type of images or videos that you go ahead and input in it.
With Gemini, you can upload a photo of handwritten answers on a worksheet. Not only can Gemini solve these problems, but this is the amazing part. It can read the answers and understand what was right and what was wrong, and explain the concepts that need more clarification. So Gemini identified some mistakes with problems 1 and 3 here. Let's take a look at 3. Here, Gemini identifies that the formula was correct, but there was a mistake in calculating height.
So we have another demonstration right here in their report. This is the image that the AI has, and the user tells Gemini what's the first step to make a veggie omelette with these ingredients, and Gemini responded with crack the eggs into a bowl and whisk them. For the second one, we have here a photo of the omelette. Thank you for the instruction. I started making my omelette. Does it look ready now? Gemini responded with, it looks like it's almost ready. You can flip it over and cook it in the other side. And we can go ahead and see that the user successfully cooked their omelette. And for the second one right here, we have a prompt of a blue and yellow yarn. And Gemini suggested how about a blue cat, or how about a blue dog that would also have a yellow ear. And for the second one, we have green and pink yarn. Gemini suggested with the idea of a green avocado with pink seed. And for the second idea, we have a green bunny with pink ears. So there's a lot of demonstration right here that we can go ahead and see, but only time will tell as soon as we got our hands off the Gemini Ultra. So guys, thank you for watching, and if this video has been helpful for you, please consider by liking and subscribing. I'll make sure to see you again next time. Thank you.